What's up, everybody? It's your favorite digital painter's favorite nerd. And today we are going to color Shockwave. I promised we would be doing a coloring of a transformer, and this is the next transformer piece I was working on, so I figured better knock this out now. So my approach is fairly similar here, and that is that I lay down the flat color first, and then I lay down the highlights and shadows in terms of the spectrum, and then use the palette from there to add to that. But my only difference really is that some places that I know are going to be shadowed areas, I make the solid base color the first tier down shadow, and then shadow that with the second two tiers underneath that, if that makes sense. And then the reverse for something that's well lit, but he's going to be mostly in shadow, so I don't really have that problem with this guy per se. As far as this sort of stuff, like, it's just something I do. It's like the cell shading, and there's no real rhyme or reason to it. I just try to break up large spaces with these little designs, and it ends up looking right in the end. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's not enough, etc., etc. It's like a delicate little chess game. And then the other thing I do is what I'm doing there, where I take rounded pieces and shadow the tops and bottoms, and sort of add a highlight somewhere in the middle, just to kind of give the illusion of depth, I suppose. And then, yeah, so I actually sold this, like I always sell my original pieces in addition to my finished pieces, like print-wise, but no one's ever bought an original before. And I was at a show in New Jersey, and somebody bought the original of this, and I don't even have the finished piece out. I just had it in my kind of portfolio as a placeholder, so shout out to that guy. I don't think a lot of people know what I do in regards to DMH. I might have to do a whole video about DMH, but DMH is Defending Our Myths and Heroes, and it's a company that I started, and the kind of idea was to kind of do artwork of my childhood heroes, and then take profits from that and contribute it to real life heroes. So I sell all sorts of merchandise. You can PM me or whatever, and we can work something out, and I take commissions as well, and I donate a portion of the profits. I try to do no less than 10%, but I try to do more. I try to do 15%, but it kind of all depends on how I do that year. And donate to different charities. So I donated to Concerns of Police Survivors, like it goes to families officers that have died in the line of duty. I donated to National Fallen Firefighter Foundation, which is pretty much the same thing, donates to families of firemen that died in the line of duty. I donated to Wounded Warriors twice, and I think I'm doing National Fallen Firefighters again this year, and then Concerns of Police Survivors, I'll just kind of repeat them. I've looked for different charities for teachers and stuff too, but I can't really find anything. I guess it's kind of a different beast. And nurses, I wanted to do something for also, but I couldn't really find anything, but then again, I also didn't look that hard. So that's a little bit of information about that. So let's go continue on. I'm trying to think about any problems I had with this guy. Shockwave is a hard one to do, especially when you're doing his face head on, because the symmetry is so important, and I still didn't get it quite right, but I think it's close enough where your eye kind of connects the dots for you, and you don't have to be spot on. And I also, that little piece above his hand, I still debate with myself today if I should have done that pink as well. Like I did the pink part over here, and then the cannon in pink, and I wonder if I didn't add enough pink on the other side, so to speak. The nice thing about this one was the majority of him is purple, so you kind of get a lot of the legwork out of the way almost immediately, from doing this. This is sped up 20%, or I'm sorry, 2,000%. my eyes, I think my eyes might be failing me a little bit, but yes, 2,000%. And so it took me 3 hours to color Shockwave, and I only know that because I captured all of this and then imported it into Final Cut and looked at the final footage, and it was 3 hours long. So I kind of do it in bits and pieces, and I've become a bit of an expert at multitasking. So I'll end up, my Skype is going crazy because I was doing Shattercast during this, and I might have to cut this out. I got to look at it, but I'll say this: I've become an expert in multitasking, so I'm usually doing two things at once in order to get everything done, because outside of the reviews, outside of being a father, outside of being a husband, and outside of, my 9 to 5, is when I try to get all this other stuff done, the podcast and the artwork and the merchandise and all that kind of stuff. So I'm usually, at any given moment, I'm doing two things at once, and that may be doing a review and listening to other shows on the Cool Table and kind of, keeping, not like just staying abreast of it, like, and then maybe coloring and then also doing Shattercast or whatever. So I kind of always am doing two things at once, and doing Shattercast and then also coloring is something that's kind of easy to do at one time. The only thing that does throw a bit of a pickle into it is, on top of that, doing recording the video footage on the screen, because it's just like another step. And I actually did forget a piece here, but I don't think you really notice, especially not at 2,000%. I often think about the inside of his legs, and maybe I should have added more detail in there. But I did a few things, and it just seemed to take away from it with pencil, and I was like, I'll just keep it simple. I'm thinking about trying to take a more original take on these characters. Most of the stuff that I do is usually pretty, I'm trying to stay pretty close to the G1 cartoon or to the IDW or whatever, but like in my mind, I think I'm at a point where I'm like, man, I want to kind of do my own interpretations of some of these characters and put my own spin on it. So I'm excited to do some of that. I haven't really been, I guess, really motivated to do a lot of Transformer stuff recently because I've done so many, and I've done most of my favorite characters. But now with this kind of new take I'm doing on things, I'm kind of excited to almost start over, I guess. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, more things, like I lay down the shadow plate, so like the inside of his leg there is darker because the light source is coming from behind him, and then so that's a bit darker than the stuff that's on the front, and then I do two shades of like shadow details inside to kind of give it some more depth and just interesting look and breakup, and that's it. And then I do the same thing on the front piece, just except I'm using the first two shades instead of the second two shades, if that makes sense. I don't know. This stuff is the coloring of the Transformers is not as fun because it's a lot more mechanical. Also, if you look at these lines, like my black line work, like everything is super sharp, and that's because like after I draw and I ink, when I scan it into my computer, I take all the line work. Like if you look at the lines of the throne, I don't clean those because I wanted them to look a little bit more haggard. But the robot lines, I go in and I clean every line. I edit every line by line, painstakingly and meticulously, so that they all look super sharp in the end. Like that is one thing that I'm proud of. Like my line work is always impeccable. It's top shelf because I don't really cut any corners there. And not to say that other people do. Like there's a charm to not doing it also, because everything is 100% real from your hand. But it's just something that I feel like adds to it. It just gives it a lot more structure for whatever reason. So I end up doing that on a separate layer. And then the pink stuff, so to speak. And then I did the cannon differently, because I did the cannon because it's a round surface. Every round surface I treat differently than a flat surface. So, and the chain, I hate drawing chains. My chain is ate up, but it's like I hate drawing chains. I hate inking chains. I hate coloring chains. I hate everything about chains. So, but I wanted to have him doing something. There's like a famous picture of Shockwave where somebody did, I don't know if it was professional or not, where he's like sitting on a throne made of Decepticon parts. And I didn't want to compete with that, not at all, but I wanted to do an homage to that and make it all pieces of Autobot parts. So that was kind of the inspiration here. And we're coming down the home stretch, so I'm going to try to wrap it up. But yeah, I'm going to end up doing more of these as they come, and I hope you enjoy them. Here I'm just altering the different layers and getting the colors that I want. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.